We did part one. We got the animation working with sprite sheet that we imported into Unity, made it destroy itself using a script and using an event inside the animation timeline, and turned it into a prefab. And so we can see that the object here is a prefab. It has an animator on it, and it has a basic explosion animation, which we can find here. At the end of the animation, we have an event that calls the anim end destroy method that's attached to a script that's on the explosion object itself. So it tells it to destroy when it is called, and in this case it's calling it when we get to the end of that particular animation. We selected here when in the inspector function anim end destroy, and we were able to do that because it was a public function inside that script. So the next part that we wanted to do was, let's pull it up, we wanted to be able to instantiate this explosion when the missile collides with this asteroid. So right now we have an asteroid with a tag called asteroid. What we could do is we could go to a missile, and let's quickly look at the script that's attached to it. It has a rigid body reference, and we find that reference at start, and then we add force at start. The next thing that we want to do then is we're going to use the void on collision. In monodevelop we should be able to do it. Nope, monodevelop's not cooperating right now, so we're going to go private void on collision, enter. 2D. Monodevelop's not cooperating, so it's not giving me the autocomplete. I believe it's going to be collision 2D, and we're going to call it collision. I'm going to write some code that goes along with that. Collision 2D, is that right? Collision? Collider 2D. Nope. Collision 2D. Collision. Yeah, that's it. And from there, we are going to see that if collision dot game object dot compare tag is asteroid. It's kind of annoying that Visual Studio is not cooperating with me. I'm going to save this right now. I'm going to restart Visual Studio. We're back. Okay, cool. So it seems like everything is as it should be. Close U. If we hit that asteroid, because we're comparing the tag, then we want to get the point. We'll find the point that we actually hit the where the missile hits the asteroid, because that's where we want to instantiate. And so we're going to say vector2, say instantiate point. That's going to be the space in the game space where we want to instantiate the explosion. From there, we are going to, how do we find out where that instantiation point is? We're going to say collision dot get contacts. We want to get the first contact. Wherever we touch first when we hit the asteroid is where we want to get the point. Contacts. Yeah, that's how we do it, right? Get contact, not with no s dot point. And that's going to return the space. If I type this out, you see that it auto-completes that the point of contact between two colliders in world space. So that's going to return the spot that we want. It's going to be 2D space XY, and that's going to be the point where we instantiate something. So we're going to call the instantiate method. From here, we're going to return to that, but we need to have a reference to the explosion prefab that we want to instantiate. In a bigger game, we may not do instantiate, but in smaller games, it's not a big deal. We're not going to be hurting for a memory crunch here. So we're going to call the particular prefab as the first parameter, and then we're going to say, where do we want to have it instantiate at the instantiation point? The particular Rotation doesn't matter to us at the moment. And this should be good enough to have it all happen. So let's just write some code, instantiate some, comment out some language for ourselves. Instantiate the explosion prefab. And this finds where to instantiate. And since this is attached to the rocket, or the missile, once we hit the asteroid, we want to spawn this thing, and then we want to destroy the missile itself. So we're going to tell that to destroy the missile. Oh, the missile. The game object that this script is attached to. Okay, let's go test that out. So we created this prefab. Visual Studio is not going to like this. I'm going to need to create an assessor for this to be public. Great. We want to make it public so that the script is going to have a field here. We could make it private and then serialize that field. Both ways work. Depends on how you want to expose elements. So we're going to go to prefab, and then we're going to drag in the explosion. Which one did I call it? Don't replace. Is this one? Let's see, which one is this? I think this is it. The one on the screen is the one I want to use. I'm going to make sure that there's no overrides. I'm going to drag in prefab select. It's this one. That's the one. If I hit select, then it shows me which prefab I'm actually working with. So I'm going to use explosion 1. I'm going to drag it into the explosion prefab field that's in the projectile movement script. Now that's there, I'll update all prefabs, and let's see. Boom. So let's say that we're happy with that motion. Let's get rid of this prefab because we don't need that instance on the scene. We're going to call this one more time. Let's talk through what else is important here. So one thing that we can see visually is that once that happens, see the explosion is behind the asteroid at the moment, and maybe we're not happy with that. So we want to make sure that this explosion prefab shows up in front of the asteroid. And we could do this by using sorting layers. So right now I've created 3 sorting layers. One is asteroids, missiles, and explosions. And the lower that we get on this list, the more in front these objects are going to be in the other ones prior to it. So what I could do is I can go to my missile, the explosion prefab, open up that prefab. I'm going to change the sorting layer from default and apply it to explosions. Save that and go back into my scene. And now all future instances of my explosion are going to be in a sorting layer that's going to be in front of both the asteroid and the missile. How do I know that? Again, I can just go to any of these ones and look at the sorting layer, and it goes in the order of things that are lower are going to be in front of the ones that are higher in the list. Great. And one last thing, if we want to have it so that we destroy the asteroid as well, then we can say we don't want to destroy ourselves. This is the last thing we want to do. Make a note of that. Last thing to happen. Because if we destroy ourselves and we have some code under here, like call mom or something like that, we never get to that point because we've already destroyed ourselves, and we're not able to execute any of that code underneath that point. So we want to do destroy asteroid. And we know that we are hitting the asteroid. We know what the asteroid is because we're doing a compare tag here. If we hit the asteroid and we compare the tag and that's true, then we know that we can execute all of this stuff underneath. So we can say collision, we'll go destroy collision dot game object. So that's saying the object that we just hit that we know is an asteroid, we're going to destroy the game object. So after this collision, we should see an explosion. Everything should disappear after that. Boom. Great. Hope this helps. I'll post links to the code that we use here in the description below. Thanks.